Alrighty, let's cover blocks in AutoCAD. So for blocks in AutoCAD, it's basically creating a single entity from a combination of objects. So let's start off with a combination of objects then. Okay. So here's a couple of objects, and I'm going to create a block. So a couple of things I can do get to this. Okay. One, I can use the block group in the Home tab, or go to the block definition group of the Insert tab to create a block. Okay. Whenever I create a block, just by using the basic block command, okay, I get to name it. So I'll name it clock. Okay. Then I'm going to specify a base point. Okay. And I need to make sure I have the object selected. So I select objects. Okay. Then some of these attributes I can set for the behavior, rather, not necessarily attributes. Okay, I'm going to say it scales uniformly. And I'm going to give it a description here. Something very simple. And hit OK. Now this popped up, redefine block, because I am actually overwriting an existing block. Okay. If you're creating a block of your own, chances are you are not encountering that issue, unless this is the second time you've attempted this. So, we have a block. Whenever I select it, it is a single entity with one base point. Okay. You can use that grip at the base point just like any other grip, except you can't really change anything about it. You do have the ability to move it though, like most grips. Okay. Now if I go to the insert command, okay, this here has the block listed. Okay, if I wanted to get a block that is not in this drawing, I can click the browse button and look for the block. If I saved the block as something other than inside the file, that is, by default, if I saved a block outside of the file, it'll create a DWG or DWG file, just like every other drawing. The little drop down here, okay, will contain the names of every block that I have created in this drawing. Since right now I've only created this one block, that's the only one name. And whenever I hit OK, it allows me to place the base point. There are a couple options that I can scale it and rotate it, but I'm just going to go with the default insertion, which is right there. So, what are some other things we can do? Okay. We do have the block editor. So if I select a block, open up the block editor, well, it gives me here the list of blocks that I have in the drawing. And I can make sure one of them is highlighted, hit OK, and it brings up a slightly different environment. You can tell because the background's a different color and the lines are black instead of white. And it allows you to add, remove, or change anything currently in the particular block. I'm just going to add an extra line in there and close out so that we can see what's present there. Now you can tell that both of these have been edited, even though I only clicked to edit one, because they are both instances of the same block. Okay, so what are some other things we can do? One very useful tool, the Design Center or Autodesk Seek. Since while I'm making this video, I am not actually connected to the internet, I am not able to use Autodesk Seek. Autodesk Seek is used to find blocks on the Autodesk website, which can be very useful if you're looking for something obscure. However, something for very common purposes is the Design Center. Very helpful. So, if we pull it up, okay, we've got, basically it's a file explorer on the left side that searches all the folders available to you. for your network and computer. Okay, so some of the things that we need to make sure to look through. It does not start up exactly at a list of blocks. So we need to go to the language we're speaking, which is English US, okay, and then Design Center. This will give us the list of available DWG files that we can pull blocks out of. Selecting one will increase the size of the available preview right here. And we can see there's a lot of things in it. Each one of these has a name. Okay, that gives you a basic idea of what's present. For one of your assignments, you will be needing the basic electronics DWG file. Okay. Some things you can do is you can click it and drag it in to the view. I'm not going to do that just yet. Okay. If you double click on it, it will open up the ability to pull various items from it. Okay. Since I am looking for blocks in Design Center, I would double click on blocks. So it will show a list of every block in that drawing. So if I'm wanting to place a battery, okay, I can right click and say Insert Block, or I can click on it and drag it into view. A little small, but then again, I wouldn't expect to see a 10-foot electrical drawing in AutoCAD. But also electrical drawings are relative in size, so it's not really important whether or not it's 5 inches or 5 miles. Okay. What are some other things we could do though? Okay. We've got detailed view styles, dimension styles, layers, layouts, line types, multi-leader styles, section view styles, table styles, text styles, visual styles, and X references. We haven't gone over several of these items, so it's not much to worry about. But let's say you've begun drawing something, and you suddenly realize that this is not your default template. Rather than saying, oh, nuts, and starting over on your default template, you can go to your template, click on the layers, and pull the layers out. Now this particular one is only on 0 layer. But some other things you could do as well. Okay, right now I've got the text styles and line types selected. So you could go pull the line types out of this particular file. Okay, we see the line type icon for every one of them, rather than the visible blocks. Okay. There are no layers on it aside from the default one. We should also have text styles as well. So several of these are visible that you can use from the Design Center. The Design Center isn't specific to just a particular folder here in the folders, but under the AutoCAD sample English US Design Center is the best place to look if you're hunting down a particular series of blocks. Okay. For example, if I'm looking for a floor plan for a kitchen, I want to see which ones of these would work best as a sink. Okay, we have some sinks here. Okay, these blocks are very specific in size, so if I wanted to take one of these and then edit it, I would have to explode it. Why don't we pull one of these in and see about that? Okay, this block, being from Design Center, is still just a block. Okay, it behaves just like every other block that we have worked with so far. So, one thing about blocks we can do, just like polylines, we can explode them, break it down into its component objects. Got now just a series of lines and arcs and circles instead of a single block. This can be useful if, say, I didn't want 2 sinks, but instead I wanted just one. I could edit these lines here to see to it and it becomes just one block, or one sink, rather. So that can be useful. It gives me a starting point, so I don't actually have to draw all of these lines, or even dimension them, as a point to start at. Okay. If you've already done several of these assignments related to this class, you should have already started working with a title block, which, yes, you can edit it just like a block and do everything else like that. Okay. So, what are some other things good about blocks? Okay. We do have attributes for blocks as well. I'm not going to go incredibly in-depth with attributes, but okay, I'm going to the insert command and going to insert the clock. Okay. So if I wanted to define some attributes here, define an attribute. Okay. Whenever I have attribute definition active, I have to be intending to save this file as a block. Okay. It's not going to apply it to any block in the scene, or in the drawing, rather. So, but attributes can be used for identifying the various information about an object, what its size is, how much it might cost in the real world, or things like that, which can be later compiled at a later time to figure out like the total cost of a drawing if each object in the drawing is a block, which defines cost. So that can be useful there, but I'm not going to go into that very deeply. So, and that's very basics of standard blocks. We have gone over creating a block, editing a block, exploding a block, and bringing one in from Design Center. Maybe something I haven't gone over yet is how to write a block. This is the W block command, or write block. Writing a block is very similar to creating a block. Why don't I go into that command? Okay. Where I select some objects, and instead of adding a description and a name, instead I give a destination where I end up naming it. Okay. By clicking on this ellipses button, I can pull up the browser here to place it. I can also change its file type, just like if I was going to save it. I could save it as a DXF or a DWG. But I'm not going to do that, even though that would help you understand a little bit more about blocks. Alrighty then. I guess that's blocks. The very basics of building blocks. Building blocks. What fun.